Good evening and welcome to Feeding Our Future, HBCUs and Food Sovereignty, hosted by the Southern Area of the Links Incorporated. The Links Incorporated is an international not-for-profit corporation established in 1946, one of the nation's oldest and largest volunteer service organizations committed to enriching, sustaining, and ensuring the culture and economic survival of African Americans and other people of African ancestry. I am Ebony Lumumba, member of the Jackson, Mississippi chapter of the Links Incorporated, as well as co-chair of Links Love HBCUs for the Southern area. I'm also a proud alumna of Spelman College. I'd like to also introduce you to my co-chair, Dr. Juno Leggett-Jacobs. Juno?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I am Juno Leggett-Jacobs, and I'm a member of the LaFleur Bluff, Mississippi chapter. And of course, I also serve as the Southern Area Links Love HBCU co-chair. I'm a very proud graduate of Russ College and Jackson State University. We are excited to welcome you to our virtual town hall entitled Feeding Our Future, HBCUs and Food Sovereignty. As you may know, the Links Incorporated is an international not-for-profit corporation established in 1946. It is one of the nation's oldest and largest volunteer service organizations comprised of extraordinary women who are committed to enriching, sustaining, and ensuring the culture and economic survival of African Americans and other persons of African ancestry. Our membership consists of more than 17,000 women worldwide in 298 chapters. The Links Incorporated continues to promote and support historically Black colleges and universities through our signature program, Links Love HBCUs. Tonight, we will engage in meaningful conversations with our panelists. We will now hear again from my HBCU sister in progress, Dr. Ebony Lumumba.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobs. And it is my extreme pleasure to introduce to you our Southern Area Director, Vanessa Falls, to bring greetings.
Good evening. I am Vanessa Falls, the Southern Area Director of the Links Incorporated. And it gives me great pleasure to bring you greetings this evening as we discuss an issue that touches communities across the Southern area. In 2022, our organization officially adopted historically Black colleges and universities as the focus of our national initiative, Links Loves HBCUs. The goal of the National HBCU Initiative is to implement and increase the retention and graduation rates of students attending HBCUs. The initiative strives to create synergy and complement programs already underway at institutions while emphasizing the relevance of HBCUs past, present, and future. Links Love HBCUs is of particular importance to the Southern area, as there are 61 HBCUs located in the 7 states and 1 Commonwealth that comprise our area. Members of the 83 chapters across the Southern area have been integral in contributing to the sustainability of HBCUs by curating college and career preparation programming, as well as engaging in philanthropic efforts through major gifts, scholarships, annual giving, and in-kind donations. Tonight, you will hear more about how the Southern area is expanding our support of these institutions by focusing on the issue of food insecurities and its impact on HBCUs. Given the alarming statistics related to communities of color suffering from food insecurities, we are endeavoring to be intentional in our service to ensure that HBCU students and surrounding communities will not only have access to nutritious food, but that we're guiding HBCU students in crafting and pursuing careers that engage food justice and equity. Your presence tonight is appreciated as we embark on this critical journey to nourish minds and communities. Thank you for joining, and I look forward to witnessing the Southern area's lead and leading the charge in feeding our future.
Tonight's town hall focuses on a critical issue that impacts the majority of HBCUs and many of our students: food access. As you've heard, our organization possesses an intentional focus of supporting HBCUs. To date, we've achieved that goal by programming and doing service and engaging philanthropy. This year, we are expanding that work to include food sovereignty, or a people's right to healthy food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods. This forum is designed to provide nuance and resources for our ongoing and holistic support of historically Black colleges and universities. We will examine how we literally and figuratively feed our future by homing in on work that centers healthy food and just food systems as human rights, and curating programming that addresses the structural barriers to those rights. HBCUs, their students, and surrounding communities have the right to define their own food systems and not have them defined for them or without their best interests in mind. This is what this work is about. Now, we hope that what you will hear tonight will inform and inspire and lead to necessary food justice efforts across the Southern area and beyond. Feel free to comment and collaborate in the comment section. This effort to wrest food sovereignty for HBCUs will take all of us. The first resource we will share with you this evening provides a brief glimpse into how members of one Charleston, South Carolina community is self-determined in their efforts to increase access to healthy food and land ownership in their fight for food justice, and how that issue impacts us all. Take a look.
Right now, there are 23.5 million Americans, including 6.5 million children, who live in what we call food deserts.
It is expensive as hell to be poor in the United States. The problem in these neighborhoods is that people don't have access to grocery stores. Just imagine living in a place where everything you needed was 15 miles away and you don't have a car. The goal is food justice. Okay, and maybe I just start by myself, and then everybody, when I go down one step. When we came up with the idea of Fresh Future Farm, we went to the city and told them that we were going to take a vacant lot, turn it into a farm, create jobs and beautiful produce at the same time, and a grocery store in a place where there hasn't been one in over 11 years before we started.
Here is someone local who understands this is something I can do something about. And Fresh Future Farm comes along, and Jermaine comes along, and they are the civil rights workers and warriors of their generation.
This food injustice fight is more important than the Black Lives Matter movement. It's more important. We have more control over this food injustice fight than we have over anything else that we face, because we lift it up with our hands and we put it in our bodies.
To talk about low income is to talk about Black and brown people.
Food desert is more palatable, but food apartheid is what it is. It's by design. Researchers can tell your life expectancy based on your zip code.
It's not black on black crime. It's not the police. It's not being incarcerated. It's heart disease and diabetes. If you look at what the Black Panthers were doing, they were feeding the community. They were feeding the community healthy foods. People don't realize the breakfast programs that they know now in their schools were started by the Black Panthers.
Compost is out! When I envisioned the farm, part of the vision was having kids that look like mine tap into their ancestors. Carrots!
It smells kind of good.
What other fruit can we grow?
Cake.
Cake is not a fruit. When we started this work, I just wanted to do right by the community and make fresh food accessible. But what I'm finding is that food justice is putting us on the map.
You are amazing, I have to say.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Green power to the people. Okay, thank you.
All right.
I moved back to South Carolina out of this abusive relationship. I would go from being able to take care of my kids and feed them the way I wanted to, not being able to do it. It changes you. It's a hard life. Being isolated and hungry. Food means everything if you don't have it, and nothing if you do.
She doesn't own her land, which is always scary.
In 2014, the City of North Charleston Council voted to give us a lease on this property. September 2019, that time is up. The vision that we have for what we can do is more than 5 years for us to get all of that. We've gotten no indication from the city which way they're going to go, and it sucks. In this situation, it feels like sharecropping. What does it matter at the end of the day if I can't get the resources that I need to employ the people so that we can be where we need to be? I can't even imagine starting from scratch. It would be tortured, and I don't know if I have it in me. I put my family through so much already.
This farm is being run by a Black woman, and we're in the South, and in this current climate, people still don't understand or know what to do with that.
I know that if I was a man, that I'd have all the money that I needed when I put my vision down on a piece of paper and presented it to people. And if I wasn't a Black woman, the level of disrespect I'm asked to tolerate would not happen. I had to go to the hospital because I was really sick. The doctor said that my blood pressure was so high that I was within the range of having a stroke.
The farm is my baby. Our naysayers don't realize that I will die to make this happen, do whatever it takes. In the pie chart of your activism, there has to be a place for food justice. I'm growing people too. That's how you get to community, through food, and what makes it revolutionary.
Tonight, we are honored to have 4 panelists who are movers and shakers in their areas of expertise. We first have Chef Enrica Williams. Enrica is a Mississippi-born and raised creator and chef owner of Fauna Food Works. Chef Enrica has had the unique experience of working with her greatest inspirations and mentors, such as Chef Carla Hall, Emerald Lagasa, and was the feature on the episode of Fox's Hotel Hell with Chef Gordon Ramsay, as well as most recently battled Bobby Flay on the Food Network, Beat Bobby Flay. Chef Enrica has been featured in a series of 3 dinners at the prestigious James Beard House, as well as several culinary creations focusing food and story and culture through culinary experiences and inspirations. In her spare time, Chef Enrica continues her endless pursuit of a delicious and satisfying life through food, art, and her amazing collection of enamel pens and way too many scented candles. And next we have Mr. Gerald Harris. Mr. Harris is a native of Little Rock, Arkansas, is an educator, social justice advocate, and grassroots development professional. He holds a Bachelor's of Arts in African and African American Studies with an emphasis in social and behavior sciences and a Master of Science in Leadership and Policy Studies in Higher Education from the University of Memphis. Gerald's diverse background includes expertise in African diaspora, focused education, community leadership, grassroots fundraising, and volunteer engagement. With nearly 2 decades of experience in higher education, he is the Senior Program Manager for University Partnerships and Consumer Robotics at Amazon. In this role, he educates, advocates for, engages, and empowers minorities and women community members interested in pursuing and advancing careers in robotics. Gerald is also the co-founder of Tall Grass Food Box, a North Carolina-based platform dedicated to supporting and promoting the sustainability of Black farmers by enhancing their visibility and securing their place in the local marketplace. Recognizing the increased vulnerability of small businesses, Gerald emphasizes the importance of supporting Black farmers in building self-determination within local, regional food systems. Next, we have Dr. Cindy Ayers Elliott. As Chief Executive Officer of a 68-acre farm and enterprise located in Jackson, Mississippi, Dr. Cindy is affectionately known as the Agoria Evangelist. The USDA Risk Management Agency has appointed Dr. Cindy as the 2023-24 Southeast Outreach Ambassador to strategically educate farmers and ranchers in underserved communities of financial and risk management tools. Before embarking upon her journey as chief farmer, Dr. Cindy held a very successful career as the New York investment banker. She moved to her home state, Mississippi, and served as CEO of Delta Foundation, Delta Enterprises, providing economic development in the Mississippi Delta. She was also assistant to former Mississippi Treasurer Marshall Bennett. In 2010, Dr. Elliott traded her high heels for sturdy work boots and began operating her farm dedicated to growing an array of fruits, vegetables, raising meat, goats, and cattle. Dr. Cindy believes that planting seeds in the earth will grow fresh vegetables. However, planting a seed in the minds of young people will create a new new universe of scholars. With her background in finance and working with government agencies, she has been able to break through mountains of red tape and help make a difference for the disenfranchised in Mississippi. Dr. Elliott takes immense pride in her alma mater, the Jackson State University, where she earned her PhD. She is equally proud of her role as a loving mother to sons LeGrand and Eric Elliott, and the doting grandmother to Christian, Erica, Zoe, and Skylar Elliott. And lastly, but not least, we have Dr. Aisha Yandoro. With more than 2 decades of experience working to improve the quality of life for people with limited resources, she is a leader in the campaign to end generational poverty. She is the founder and CEO of Springboard to Opportunities, a nonprofit that helps affordable housing residents reach their life goals. In 2018, she launched the Magnolia Mothers Trust, a first of its kind guaranteed income program for Black mothers in the United States. And she has worked to scale program successes nationally through her policies such as expanded child tax credit and a federal government income. She is the executive, she's in the Immersion Collective Dow Fellow, as well as a fellow of the Highland Project, W.K. Kellogg Foundation Community Leadership Network, and a SIN as the Aspen Institute. Her work has been featured in New York Times, The Washington Post, Essence, NBC, and CNN. She holds a BA from Tennessee State University and an MA and PhD from Michigan State University. When not working to liberate financial capital, she is very active in several civic organizations, including the Jackson, Mississippi chapter of the Links Incorporated and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Additionally, she is a wife and mom to 2 very charming sons. And those are our 4 panelists. Okay, Chef Williams.
Hi. Hello. Hi. So first of all, unbeknownst to me, the very definition of food sovereignty has been at the forefront of my work as a chef. The definition of food sovereignty, according to Google, is the ability of communities to control the production and distribution of their food. But I like to open that and to also include the preservation, the reverence, the sharing of the foodways culture, and advocating for policies in food to include the access and affordability in all communities, rural, coastal, or urban. The questions that were posed to me, the first question that I had was, what role can education about food and nutrition play in combating food insecurity? And Mississippi's biggest assets are our people and our commitment to creating change and supporting community along all aspects. Mississippi is in a precarious space where we are lacking educational resources about food, about how to grow it, how to cook and prepare it, and how it affects our bodies. Then there's the imbalance in the landscape between wholesome, fresh, nutritional food and the overabundance of super processed, cheap, readily available foods in all of our neighborhoods, especially the neighborhoods with limited resources, as outlined in the short documentary that we just viewed, to farm fresh, non-big box retailers and affordability. And I think there's a 2-part point to education. So education extends to sharing access to information, supporting local makers, growers, and culinarians. That includes farmers, that includes bakers, that includes butchers. Enlightening, involving ourselves in policies that tackle systemic barriers, inequities, privileged decision makers, and influencers. And the other part of that is that education about food and nutrition can also extend to vocational. Home ec is not in classes anymore, not at the ready like we used to have when we were in high school. So learning about food preparation, recipes, where food comes from, can offer employment opportunities, which contributes to the economy and creating jobs and again collaborations. Farming, urban agriculture, food sciences are leading the way to broadening the food landscape beyond chefs, bakers, and instructions. I feel like the broader the education is foodways wise, the more likely these new findings and perspectives can lend to more visibility and advancing food policies, because we need not only in the neighborhoods and community building and having accessibility, but we have to also approach it from a standpoint from legislature and policies. How do we get into these rooms? How do we change and shift that so we can understand how these policies work and do things to change them and to shift them into the betterment of the community? So accessibility to food should not be a narrative ever, but we're here. So we're finding ways to change that, where we can change the narrative, where we're not concerned about access to food. The other question that I was posed with was, as a chef, how do you support communities in obtaining food justice? And so keeping food traditions alive for me, I was born in West Point, Mississippi, so I'm a Mississippi girl through and through. But I have a strong alliance and allegiance to Mississippi specifically. But it extends out to all of my travels and all of the work that I do. Keeping food traditions alive and vibrant is important to me as a chef, honoring foodways of my folks, country folks, and the tie to support and providing sustenance, exalting community togetherness and self-sufficiency, and leading with the newer, inclusive, and vibrant lens of food culture, accessibility, and future food initiatives can open up a whole new world. And so I feel like that's really important, not only in honoring tradition and preserving those traditions, but also how do we move in the future? What can we look forward to? What can we start to implement? What can we put in place to preserve and to include and to go beyond what we're already doing? And so some of the ways that I support communities with food justice, I've worked with a lot of organizations. Most of the organizations that I work with on a consistent level are definitely local and regional. And I'm just going to name a couple of those and just the impact that I feel that their work is doing to not only help with the educational part of it, but also with just about food justice and accessibility and advocating for food sustainability in not only Mississippi, but throughout. One of the organizations is Deep South Solidarity Fund, which is committed to sustainably resourcing Black, Brown, and Indigenous people, movement builders, their institutions, and their infrastructure across the Deep South to create a more just, equitable, free region. And the importance of their work is that they are also at the root of policy and legislature, moving money and funding around to fund those of us who are makers and creators and farmers and those who are trying to do the work to change the narrative. And we always say change the narrative, but what does that mean? Changing the narrative, we have an idea, we have a concept, we need the means to put the work out there so it can be accessible to people. So that's a really good organization that I love working with, not only as a chef being able to create food for them, but also from a moral and an ethical standpoint. Their work is really important to me and I love what they do. Farm to Table with Tougaloo College. I provided a chef experience with them. But it's actually the Urban Food Equity Collective, and it is the only BIPOC collective of its kind in the state of Mississippi. So they have a whole study and an institute at Tougaloo College that is just specific in studying the very things that we're talking about in this discussion. And I just find that work fascinating. And I also love working with them because it also ties into the agriculture and the local farmers, and just having the students to understand more so about the importance of knowing where our food comes from and what we're going to do with that moving into the future. There's another one, the Mississippi Food Justice Collaborative, and SAFON. SAFON is specifically close to me. It's the Southeastern African American Farmers Organic Nation. And their mission is to elevate the collective, the power, prosperity, and visibility of Black farmers, advancing ecologically sustainable practices. And I've worked with them. I think I would say like as a thought partner on some of the things that they've done, and also just providing food and sustenance for their gatherings and their collectives when they are meeting to discuss ways to help sustain and help the visibility of Black farmers, specifically the smaller Black ones here in Mississippi. That's the ones that I've worked with. And to round it out is Higher Purpose Co. And it is an economic justice nonprofit based in the Delta. It's in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Mr. Dr. Tim Lampkin is at the forefront of that organization, and he and his organization have been instrumental in not only building community wealth in Mississippi by supporting the ownership of financial, cultural, and political power, but also supporting the locals and putting the money into those programs and the opportunities for us, which also includes farming, which also includes entrepreneurships, and they support the smaller businesses, the smaller mom and pop restaurants and caterers, which we know are the cornerstone of Black culture, especially with paying and providing food and sustenance, but also as a means of taking care of families and funding things, including, movements, civil rights movements, anything to do with the upliftment of people. Selling plates and dealing food out of the Black community has been pivotal. And so and Higher Purpose Co. understands that and brings light to that and celebrates and understands that and helps them to come into a broader arena where they too can contribute and be seen as a viable culinary entity or restaurant, whatever it is that they're dealing with food. So those are my questions answered. I tried to sum it up as much as I can. I think that this is a very fascinating topic. I love the questions. I could probably go on and on about them, but I won't. But I just want to say thank you for the opportunity of that. And I am going to turn it back over to our hostess. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, I'm Cindy Ayers Elliott. I'm CEO of Footprint Farms in Jackson, Mississippi. I have the great pleasure of being a farmer, full-time farmer. And when I look at HBCUs and the work that's happening with HBCUs throughout this country, I have to look at the actions and the work that's happening right now. As an urban farmer, one of the biggest things that we look to do is how can we help and show others how to grow their own food so we can look at being sustainable. If you control a person's food, you control the person. So one of the things we're helping to do is to make sure we give access to healthy, affordable foods and the know-how of how to grow our own. So when I look at what we can do and how we can bring along access, it's about everything we do, the organizations that we are associated with, everything that we can do to make a difference for our people in these communities. I live in a food desert. Well, it was once a food desert. Now it's a full-fledged farm that's growing fruits and vegetables throughout the year. But one of the things we've learned is that if you show people how to and bring them back to the basics of nature and growing their own food, they will. When we talk about access, we talk about the great things. In fact, right now tonight, I have the great pleasure of being with Alcorn State University and the Mississippi Association of Cooperatives, talking about just that, food sovereignty. What do we have to do and what we need to do better? How do we do everything more with climate smart and conservational? One of the things that we're doing throughout this country is not just talking about it, but taking action. Right now, I lead 10 states in urban ag, showing how we can get together, work with our small farmers and farmers, especially of color, in the urban areas to show them how and to bring resources for them to be able to farm and to farm more sustainably, but also to look at how we share knowledge and information and how we open up things. Right now, I'm working a lot with the USDA as an ambassador to a couple of the programs, but mostly with looking at risk management. What are we doing and how we're calculating our risk and how we're ensuring our biggest access, our crops for small farmers and farmers throughout this country. But without a doubt, there's still so much we have to do. I also had the pleasure of sitting on the national policy for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers in this country. But we're working actually on the Farm Bill, working with Congress to make sure that we have a seat at the table, talking with our congressional and with the Ag Commissioner on what we can do nationwide. We have a lot of farmers that we're working with. We have a lot of women, men, young and old, looking at what we can do to make things better for ourselves. So when you ask what can we do, we need to bring in more of our young students in, hands-on, to open up more access to actually let them see what agriculture is. And it's so much more than just putting seeds in the soil. It's also about a whole lot of different things that's happening and can be done. Everything's a part of ag. So when we look at careers and opportunity, we need to look at agriculture and looking at our universities for majoring in, because ag is everything, from the clothes we wear to the food we eat and also to the shoes we wear. But those talents have to be cultivated, and our young people, our people in general, have to learn more about agriculture and what's available, and the opportunities to major in research and development. All this is a part of food science to look at how and what we can do to make things better. For me as a farmer, I can just tell you this. We work hard to bring healthy, affordable foods to our communities. But we also do, we make sure we're passing on information. We're so thankful to the groups, the organizations, and to the new farmers that's coming on board to what we can do and how we do things. Let me just say to you, without agriculture, there's no us. We have to make sure we are controlling our own destiny by making sure that we can grow our own foods. When we talk about how we can impact, it's every day. Let's form more 4-H groups. Let's get into our communities. Let's get into our communities. Let us talk about what we can do to make things better. We have to formulate more 4-H groups. We have to get back into the schools. We have to do more than just talk about it. We got to let them feel it and see it, but also let them know that there's opportunity and there's wealth and health in agriculture. For us to be able to bring access, to work with farmers, to work with universities, to work with students and young and old to make a difference helps all of us every day. I'm so proud to be a farmer. I'm very proud to be a farmer in the state of Mississippi. But more than that, I'm proud to work with farmers and organizations throughout this country with the same mindset of making access for people in the communities to grow their own foods. I can talk a lot about ag and about a lot of things that I do, but I can tell you this, there's nothing more important than the work we're doing in tilling the soil and making sure that we're taking care of the earth, making sure clean water is there, and helping to set policies, policies that make a difference, policies as local as much as it is national. So we have to start looking at everything we do to make sure that we are doing these things. And we're telling our communities, we're bringing them in, we're actually helping and making a big difference at everything. So for me, and this time that I have, it's just to say, come and visit. Let's work together. There's a lot of organizations throughout this country that's doing great work. And I'm so proud to be a part of that. For Footprint Farms and for Time to Improve Mississippi Economics nonprofit, in which we're working in those 10 states with 17 other states, brings us 27 strong today. And we're actually every day talking about what we can do in the policies and access, not just talk, but bringing money to our communities. I'm proud to be a farmer. And thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. And that's exactly what we do. This great organization of the Links and pulling this together and loving our HBCUs as they love us. And I thank you again for this opportunity. Call me anytime. Come visit the farm If you want to know how to grow tomatoes, call me. I can show you how. Thank you. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Hello, hello. I need to hit up Cindy because my tomatoes have been going flat over the last couple of seasons. But anyway, good evening, everyone. Giving some links love for the invitation to speak with you all today about transformative work underway to uplift Black farmers and expand food equity across Black communities. I'm honored to share my journey with as a co-creator of Tallgrass Food Box, a movement rooted in resilience, justice, and community. Also, am really excited about highlighting how minority serving institutions, specifically HBCUs, can actively engage in this vital movement of serving, and particularly in the shape of our next generation of leaders. So supporting Black farmers is not an act of charity, right? It's an intentional response to centuries of both historical and contemporary injustice. Um, to grasp the gravity of this, we really must first understand the journey of Black farmland ownership over the past century. In 1920, nearly 1 million Black farmers worked over 41 million acres of land, accounting for about a seventh of farm owners. Today, those numbers have fallen to just 1.4%, with only 45,000 Black farmers left tending a mere fraction of the land. Uh, this staggering decline is not due to a lack of effort, but results systematic barriers. So we're talking about land theft. We're talking about discriminatory lending practices. We're talking about the absence of generational wealth transfers. These forces have made it incredibly challenging for Black farmers uh, to not only survive, but to thrive. This loss of land is only part of the story. Black farmers face profound financial hurdles. The average annual income for Black farmers is around $40,000 compared to $190,000 for their white counterparts. These gaps to fewer resources, smaller yields, have reduced the reduction of market access, deeper disparities for the communities that rely on them for sustenance. By standing with Black farmers, we are addressing these inequities head on. When Black farmers prosper, they provide fresh, affordable produce to Black communities, and many of which are disproportionately affected by what Sister Karen Washington refers to as food apartheid. And so these farmers are a part of the solution, feeding the community, creating jobs, keeping wealth circulating within their own neighborhoods. This community empowerment through ownership. At Tallgrass Food Box, our mission is simple yet revolutionary. To bridge the gap between Black farmers and Black communities by creating a subscription-based service that sources produce from local Black farmers in the North Carolina area and delivers it directly to the consumer. In doing so, we tackle multiple challenges: food insecurity, market access, and the critical engagement of community members in the process of their own subsistence. It goes back to the idea of ownership. We don't just actually distribute food. We distribute stories, culture, history. Every box of produce serves as a connection between the consumer and the rich heritage of Black agriculture. Um, this builds pride, it builds ownership. It renews sense of solidarity in the fight for food justice By telling the stories of these farmers, we rebuild trust in the food system and we reimagine food equity, not as a distant idea, but actually as a lived reality. I want to take this moment to speak directly to students, alum, faculty, members, and supporters of HBCUs, and definitely reaching back to the space of talking to students. You are the future leaders. At the end of the day, you all are going to be the ones that we're going to be looking to lead not only this nation but this world. Your role in this movement is extremely critical. Whether you're studying agriculture, environmental science, business, social sciences, there are many ways for you to contribute through research, advocacy, and direct involvement within initiatives like Tallgrass Food Box and many other that are out there. Uh, you have the power to develop sustainable farming techniques, create equitable supply chains, and raise awareness about Black farmers in a way that transforms not only the food system, but the broader societal structures. Food banks on campuses are needed and are on many of our campuses already, many of our HBCUs, but we have an opportunity to broaden what creating space on campus looks like. A great example of that is We Over Me Farm at Paul Quinn College. The farm was founded in 2010. Paul Quinn converted its football field into a farm. The farm serves as a learning tool for their students and also donates 15% of their produce to the Oak Cliff community. Your unique perspective, and innovative ideas, and passion for justice are essential. Your engagement ensures that future food systems are not only sustainable but deeply inclusive. This is about far more than, again, charity. It's about changing the landscape of food justice and equity. It's the cornerstone of community engagement. Community engagement is the process of working collaboratively with and through groups of people affiliated by geographical proximity, special interests, and similar situations to address issues affecting the well-being of those people. It is a powerful vehicle for bringing about environmental and behavior change that will improve the health of the community and its members. It often involves partnerships, coalitions that help mobilize resources, influence systems, change relationships among partners, serve as catalysts for changing policies, programs, and practices. These aren't my words, but these are the words of the CDC in 1997. So let that sink in. This work is important. Community engagement is important. And we've been doing this forever, from the Colored Farmers Alliance and Cooperative Union to the Freedom Farm Cooperative to the Black Panther Breakfast Program and many, many more. We have always been about this work. Hunger persists in our world because people cannot afford to buy food, or because they are denied access to the land, the water, and other resources they need to produce their own food. When we mistakenly define the problem as hunger itself, we limit the solution to food charities and distribution. But when we look at the deeper root cause and define hunger as a symptom, we can see the problem clearly as a social injustice. And that is where we can begin to find real solutions to complex economic, social, and environmental issues at the source. In closing, let us remember that food justice is not a one size fits all solution. It requires creativity, cultural understanding, and the involvement of every generation. When we invest in Black farmers, we are investing in the future of Black communities, their health, their wealth, their well-being. Tallgrass Food Box is proud to stand on the front lines of this movement along with others, and we look forward to continuing this work with you all. And that's all I got to say.
You're on mute, Aisha. Thank you so much for that, Ebony. And I was going. Thank you all so much for having me this evening. I am Dr. Aisha Yandoro, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Springboard Opportunities. And I am thrilled to be in this conversation this evening about the connection between socioeconomic well-being and food justice. When I look at the two, I understand that they are interdependent. You cannot have one without the other. At its core, food justice is about ensuring equitable access to nutritious, affordable food for all people. However, we know this access is deeply intertwined into broader socioeconomic factors. In our work as Springboard Opportunities, we've seen firsthand how economic insecurity directly impacts food security. When families are struggling to meet ends meet, food is often one of the first expenses to be cut or compromised. This leads to reliance on cheaper, less nutritious options, or even the extremely heartbreaking situation we hear all too often when parents go hungry so that their kids can have enough to eat. The stress of food insecurity then compounds other socioeconomic challenges, creating a vicious cycle. Conversely, when we support families' economic well-being through programs like ours, Magnolia Mothers Trust, which provides a guaranteed income to Black mothers, we see immediate improvements in food security. With a stable financial foundation, families can prioritize nutrition and make empowered choices about their food. But food justice goes beyond just access. It is also about agency and dignity in our food systems. Socioeconomic factors influence whether communities have grocery stores, farmers markets, and green spaces for gardens, like we've heard from our other panelists. They determine who has the time and resources to prepare healthy meals. And they shape whose voices are heard in policy discussions about our food systems. For example, Mississippi was one of 15 states that refused federal aid to feed hungry kids over the summer months when they're home from school, a time many of our families experienced the most food insecurity due to the increased grocery bill. We stepped in and we offered families financial support, but we need more than a stopgap measure. True food justice requires addressing these broader socioeconomic inequities. We need policies and programs that tackle poverty, support living wages, and invest in community food infrastructure. Only then can we create a food system that nourishes all people and communities equitably. When I think about how we can engage in this challenge to potentially challenge the potential for food insecure experiences of young people before they reach college age, I understand that what we do at Springboard to Opportunities, our work challenges food insecurity for young people well before they go to college through our holistic, radically resident-driven approach to ending generational poverty. First and foremost, by supporting economic stability of families, we directly impact children's access to nutritious food. Providing this consistent access to proper nutrition is crucial for children's physical and cognitive development. We also recognize that food insecurity doesn't exist in isolation. Our comprehensive approach to the work that we do addresses both the interconnected issues like housing stability, healthcare access and education support, By tackling these root causes of poverty, we create a more stable foundation for families, reducing the likelihood of food insecurity. Importantly, the work that we do empowers parents to be advocates for their children's nutrition. Through our leadership development programs, we equip parents with the skills and agency to navigate systems and take action like demanding better food options in schools and communities. Lastly, our policy advocacy works aims to create systemic change. We push for policies like expanded food assistance programs and investments in community food infrastructure that can have lasting impacts on youth food security.
Nationally, we are pushing for the reinstatement of the expanded child tax credit, which parents across the country used during the pandemic to cover their basic needs, such as groceries. By addressing food insecurity holistically and early in life, we aim to break the cycle of poverty and ensure what young people can focus on their education and future aspirations rather than worrying about their next meal. When I think about what is the value of supporting families and advocating for food sovereignty, I truly feel that it's invaluable. Food sovereignty is essential for creating lasting, equitable change in our food systems. First, it's important to recognize that families, especially those experiencing food insecurity, have unique insights into the challenges and potential solutions within our food systems. By centering these families in policy discussions and empowering these families to advocate, we ensure that programs are truly responsive to community needs. This leads to more effective, sustainable solutions. This is imperative as we must move from a model of charity to one of true food sovereignty where communities have control over their food sources. Supporting family advocacy also builds valuable leadership skills that extend beyond food issues. As families learn to navigate systems and speak up for their rights, they become more engaged citizens overall. This ripple effect strengthens democracy and community resilience. Moreover, when children see their parents advocating for food sovereignty, it instills a sense of agency and connection to their food system from an early age. This creates a new generation of informed, empowered citizens. Family advocacy for food sovereignty also challenges harmful narratives about poverty and deservedness. When families share their stories and demands, it humanizes issues of hunger and poverty, making it harder for policymakers to ignore or stigmatize these issues. Lastly, supporting family advocacy recognizes that food is deeply cultural and personal. Families are best positioned to advocate for food systems that respect and celebrate their needs and preferences. By investing in families' capacity to advocate for food sovereignty, we're not just addressing immediate food needs, we're building a more just, democratic, and resilient food system for the long term. And I, for one, am thrilled to be on the front lines advocating for more equitable outcomes for all of us. Thank you again for having me.
Outstanding job to our panelists tonight. If you would like to reach out to our panelists, please note that their websites are at the bottom of the screen. Facts about HBCUs and food sovereignty. Let's take a quick look at the numbers. In reviewing the research, this is what we found. 51 out of 61 HBCUs in the Southern area are considered to be low income, low access. Food insecurity is higher in student populations than in general populations and is associated with lower odds of college graduation. 15% food insecure students are nearly 15% less likely to complete their bachelor's or graduate professional degree. Nearly 3 in 4 students reported some level of food insecurity in the past year. Meal plans participation did not prevent food insecurity. That's what we found. Food insecure students achieve lower grade point averages, take fewer classes, and are most likely to withdraw from their courses or the institution that they attend. And lastly, 40% of students report facing food insecurity within the last month. The last month, everyone. So those are the numbers. And next we will have Dr. Lamuma to come back.
Thank you, Dr. Jacob. Those numbers are staggering. As you let those sink in, I want to sincerely thank our panelists. We're deeply grateful for their intrepid work in the realm of food justice. We wanted you to hear from the voices who are actually doing this work. They are the boots on the ground. They are in the trenches. As we speak, Dr. Yandoro and Dr. Ayers Elliott are actually at conferences dealing with the work that they just spoke to you about. Mr. Harris is always involved hands-on in that work of supporting Black farmers, whether it's packing and distributing boxes or just coordinating the efforts all together. And Chef Enrica is not only on the Food Network and at the James Beard House displaying our foodways, but she is also in the classrooms and in the communities, educating our community about nutrition and food justice. So we want to thank Chef Enrica, Mr. Harris, Dr. Ayers Elliott, and Dr. Yandoro for demonstrating how each of us plays a role in feeding our future. As Jermaine Jenkins said in the video, this is something that we can do something about. We've seen tonight how individuals, community organizations, nonprofits, as well as CSAs, or what we call community-supported agricultures, contribute to food sovereignty. Now, let's take a look at an HBCU that has taken its food destiny into its own hands. Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi, has developed a multi-pronged approach to food justice with efforts that not only serve its students, but empower those same students to serve the larger community and develop careers that respond to this critical issue. They are doing what Gerald mentioned, broadening what nourishing spaces look like. Take a look at what's happening at Jackson State. Mississippi is often recognized as one of the nation's largest food apartheid areas. Here at Jackson State University, we are sowing seeds of hope and support with a variety of efforts designed to increase healthy food access, provide gardening and nutrition education, and encourage careers that support food justice and equity for our students and the surrounding community. Our crop drop, now in its 9th iteration, allows JSU students to serve hundreds of West Jackson residents by packaging and distributing thousands of pounds of fresh produce like sweet potatoes and collard greens from area farms. With this effort, our students not only earn community service hours, they also develop a stronger sense of community and become integral in fulfilling a critical need. The Blackburn Learning Garden is a partnership with Blackburn Laboratory Middle School, where students learn to grow, nurture, and sell crops.
Well, welcome to the JSU Blackburn Learning Garden, and we started this space in 2016 to turn and transform a vacant lot into a usable learning space. The community really comes out and supports this effort because it is not only a beautification project, but Mississippi is an agricultural state. And so this space allows them to do that, and it really bridges the generations because our elderly community come out and they just say they remember when they used to, till the farms back in the day. And so they love to see this trade being passed on to our young folks.
These efforts, as well as others like the JSU Tiger Pantry and the Blackburn Student Garden Club, with its over 100 members, provide our campus and larger community with the access to fresh, affordable food they deserve, and guide our students in seeking careers that respond to real-world issues. We are excited about the many ways our institution is combating hunger and enacting food justice. So we hope you've been inspired by everything you've heard tonight and that you're already brainstorming or even expanding the ways you may already be working to establish food sovereignty across our communities. Now, we want to share with you a few ways that chapters across the Links Incorporated, as well as other community organizations, can begin and enhance this work. I want to share that these tips are not only for our chapters. We encourage other civic organizations, faith-based groups, nonprofits, and corporations to engage this work as we strive towards more just food systems. The first way that you can do that within the Links Incorporated is to connect the program stream work that you're already doing in Links Love HBCUs to food justice work. There are ways to engage those young people in becoming involved with local farms or joining garden clubs or creating gardening clubs of their own, or simply sitting in on a lecture from a local chef, from a local farmer, so that they become informed and can share that information with their community. Also think about sponsoring scholarships for careers in food studies and other disciplines that relate to food justice, like supply chain management. This is something that any corporation, any individual can do. You can sponsor a scholarship and restrict those scholarship funds to support this effort for young people to develop careers that will respond to this real world issue. Also consider partnering with local businesses to support campus gardens. As you see at Jackson State University, that campus garden was an empty lot, and they partnered with a local middle school to not only train those young students to be acclimated to the ways of food justice, but also to guide the university students in developing careers. And there's an economic lesson in that as well, because those students not only grow their wares, but they're able to sell them at equitable prices to the community. And they're learning so much there. So partner with these local businesses, because those local businesses are the ones that supply the seeds and the soils and the tools and everything that's needed for those campus gardens to exist. You can also create programs to support local farms. You heard from Dr. Cindy Ayers Elliott tonight. She is proud to be a farmer. She said she'd help us with our tomatoes. So I hope you're noting her website there. But these local farms can benefit from our acumen in the community. They can benefit from free marketing. They can benefit from volunteer labor. So going onto those farms and asking what you can do from day to day, because oftentimes local farms, especially Black-owned farms, are missing out on the labor force that they need to be competitive in that discipline and in that arena. So you can volunteer at local farms, you can support their efforts, you can certainly buy their wares, as we heard from Gerald Harris tonight. You can actually support what they are doing by purchasing what they are growing and bringing that out into community. There's so many ways. So I encourage you to look up the farmers in your area and the local, especially Black farms in your area. There is an index that we can share with you in the comment section so that you know what farms exist and how you can support them. Lastly, consider hosting programs that increase awareness about food justice, like this one. You can bring together people in your community who are actually doing the work and have them bring awareness to this issue for your community members, for your chapter members, and for your organization. These are just a few ways that we can bring about food sovereignty for HBCUs and the larger community. On the next slide, I want to share with you, if you were inspired or you were interested in anything that any of our panelists share tonight, there are ways to keep up with the work that they're doing. So we want to share with you their sites. You can follow Chef Enrica at Fauna Food Works there on Instagram, and you can check out the websites of Tall Grass Food Box, Footprint Farms, as well as Springboard Opportunities. They are doing so much more than they had the opportunity to share with us tonight. But you would be inspired and really encouraged by looking into the work that they're doing and building off of that work. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we can build capacity for organizations who are already serving our community. Lastly, I want to share that for those of you who have enjoyed or been inspired by what you've done tonight, we encourage you to contact us, not only members of the Links Incorporated for your HBCU work, but if you're outside of the organization and you just want to know what we're doing or you want to support what we're doing, we encourage you to reach out to us, myself and Dr. Jacobs, at this email address and ask your questions, volunteer your information. If you've got funds that we can share with campuses and students, that's what we want to know. So share that with us at this email address, or if you'd like more information, we are happy to open up a dialogue with you. This work is multifaceted, and our organization is approaching it from various vantage points. So to that end, we'd like to share a message with you from the chair of our Southern Area National Trends and Services Facet Chair, Attorney Kimberly Lamont. And as many of our panelists mentioned, policy also matters in food justice. So hear now from Attorney Lamont.
Good evening, and thank you to Autumn and her phenomenal Links Love HBCU co-chairs, Juno and Ebony, for amplifying food insecurity through tonight's outstanding presentation. This societal issue has been of special interest to me for some time, and I applaud our area director, Vanessa Falls, for having the vision and leadership to address this problem in the Southern area. Your support of the Project 1890 effort last October during HBCU Month, as well as our April webinar, Unlocking Health and Equity Issues of Food Insecurity, have set the tone for our chapters to address this issue in our local communities. We should all be familiar with the impacts of this issue. Of course, we all know that food is necessary for survival, but nutritious food is necessary for health. Entire communities are being impacted by the lack of access to healthy and nutritious food, resulting in record levels of obesity and diabetes. This subject is complex, and for the millions of individuals and households in the Southern area, the United States, and across the globe that suffer from food insecurity, the harsh reality is that it is rooted in generational poverty and systemic barriers to access. Statistics prove that this disproportionately impacts Black and Brown populations on all levels of this problem. From the communities that only have access to corner stores that can provide convenience but not nutrition, to the farmers that were discriminated against and denied access to USDA funding and support, and to the HBCU 1890 land grant institutions that have been underfunded by over $7 billion, and that's in the Southern area alone. As Election Day approaches, we must be keenly aware that this does not happen by accident or coincidence. The political determinants of health are how laws and policies influence our health outcomes. As we link up the vote in our communities, let's remind those who are seeking our vote that this cannot and will not be cured with a single grocery store. It will require policies that address the root cause of poverty and ensure equity and access for everyone. We should look to our national core priorities and advocate for legislative policies on all levels of government, local, state, and national, to address the resources provided in our communities towards health equity, education, support for nutritional assistance programs, and funding for equal pay and living wages. So we must feed our future and plant seeds of knowledge and advocacy in our students because they are our future and will be in positions to impact change. They are our hope to address the reality that we now face and improve the lived experience for the food insecure. Again, thank you to Vanessa Falls for acknowledging food insecurity as a social justice issue in the Southern area. And kudos to Autumn, Ebony, and Juno for a powerful discussion. I know that we must continue to push forward and work with intention and purpose toward addressing this issue in the Southern area. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Hello, everyone, and wow. I mean, just wow is how I can describe it. What a wonderful night we've had together. I am Dr. Autumn Jeter, member of the Magic City, Alabama chapter. I am also the Southern Area Services to Youth Facet Chair and a very proud graduate of Talladega College in Talladega, Alabama. On behalf of our Southern Area Director, Mrs. Vanessa Falls, whom you heard from earlier, and our program coordinator, Dr. Prasharon Dixon, we hope that our intentional focus on food insecurities and sovereignty and offering you ways to get involved opened your eyes and hopefully will root you or have rooted you or has rooted you in knowledge on how you can help address food insecurity and food sovereignty in our areas and our HBCUs. Thank you to our Southern Area HBCU co-chairs whom you've heard from all night, Doctors Lumumba and Jacobs. What an awesome job. And hats off to everyone involved, all of our speakers. You spoke in avenues and areas that are diverse and really opened our eyes. So thank you so much. Again, everyone tonight, you've made us proud. And to all of our visitors, viewers, and members, hopefully you will take this information and get out there and work. We thank you again. Have a great night and be safe, everyone.